So, welcome back to Boys on Film, and welcome back to Boys on the Box. That's what we do. Well, we're trying to do it every week. I'm not sure if it's working every week, but we'll see. So we're looking at the big movies being shown on UK TV at the weekend. We asked you to vote for our favourite, and this week it is Chris. I am Phil. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to an exciting weekend of movies.
It's a great selection this week. So we've got Don't Look Now, BBC Two, Friday at 11:05pm. We've got Legally Blonde, ITV2 on Saturday at 8:05. Scream on Channel 4, which is Saturday at 9:20. And Aftersun on BBC Two on Sunday at 10pm. Great selection again. I would imagine that you probably like all of these films. Have you seen all of these films?
I have seen all those things. There's one of them that I've only seen once because I was like, nah, whatever. But one of these films is the film kind of credited with me really discovering a proper love of horror and kind of going, okay, yeah, this is what a good horror's like. And so that's what one of these films is.
So we're going to go to the polls. So it's a surprising one, actually. We've got two polls going because we've got one on X. So follow us there at London Boys, LDN Boys, and also one on the YouTube channel under the community tab. So this is quite a result, actually. We've got Don't Look Now. That's 43% of the vote. So that's what people are saying is your favourite. We've got Aftersun, followed at 29%, Legally Blonde at 14, and tying with Legally Blonde, Scream from 1996. So this is the original Scream. I'm guessing it's that one, right?
The original Scream, I think, is a great, great film. And it totally switched me on to the possibilities of horror. It just was like, wow, this is what they should be like. When I first saw it, when it first came out, I mean, I've seen it about a million times since, but when I first saw it, I was completely blown away. I was like, this is great horror.
Okay, so was everyone right? Was it Don't Look Now? Is that your favourite?
It was not my favourite film, actually.
Boo! Hiss!
Yeah.
He's behind you or something.
Love the horror, love the 70s period stuff, love all that, absolutely brilliant. But I've got to say that the film I've chosen took my breath away. I think it's a really beautifully made film. I think it's got an amazing pace. I think it's got a real intrigue to it, and it just kept me completely glued, watching the whole thing. I just thought it was just the most amazing film.
So we're talking Aftersun?
We are talking Aftersun.
Written and directed by Charlotte Wells, Scottish director. I think it's her first feature film as well, which is outstanding. So Tell us about the plot then. Can you remember much of it? I'm guessing you saw it a while ago.
Yeah, I saw it when it first came out. But yeah, ostensibly it's about the relationship between a father who's estranged from a child's mother and the child. He takes the two of them away on holiday. It takes himself and the daughter away on holiday. It's kind of set, I think, in the 80s or 90s, and he's got a kind of video camera as a kind of, it's when they're kind of new and exciting, and they kind of are doing this kind of video diary of what happens when they're there. It's just this really interesting film about kind of memory and recollection and growing old, and whether you can trust your memories and, what it's like to kind of be around someone who may not be what you thought they were and stuff like that. And there's kind of real ambiguity to it and real kind of mystery about things. And it's kind of, I read a review at the time, which I seem to remember said something along the lines of, everything in this film happens not in the film. It's always happening off screen. It's always happening elsewhere. It's like the sort of residue of something. It's kind of what's left after some stuff has happened. And you're left to kind of go, okay, what's the stuff that's happened then? And I just find that really, really intriguing.
It's an incredible movie. So Sophie's the daughter. She's played by Frankie Corio, and there's an older Sophie, obviously 20 years later or so. Celia Rowlson-Hall plays the adult Sophie, and the father's played by Paul Mescal, who we saw recently in All of Us Strangers. You went to see that at the cinema with your dog, a dog-friendly screening. How amazing is that film? How amazing is he in that film?
Absolutely. I mean, look, exemplary film. I mean, just kind of one of those films. I mean, I think I messaged you afterwards and said, I don't think anyone can ever make another film after that film. That's like the last film that ever needs to be made. I was just completely blown away by that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So back to Aftersun. There's something really dreamlike about this. I think it's very clever because particularly towards the end, the final act, there's this almost choreographed club scene where you see club goers kind of playing out the story, and it's all to do with longing and loss, and it's just heartbreaking. Again, like All of Us Strangers, it's one of those films that really tugs at the heartstrings. It's so clever.
I think that one of the things I really experienced watching it was this. I had this real kind of dread. I was like, either I was waiting for something either really awful to happen, or I was kind of living in fear of finding out what had happened that was really dreadful. But there's a real kind of pregnancy about that. You're just waiting for this kind of like, you just feel dread. You're really swept along by this tidal wave of wonder and kind of just what has happened here or what's going to happen.
It overlaps. I mean, there's so much complexity to this film. I mean, you can't really explain it. You can't really sell it by talking about it so much. I think you just have to see it. It's one of those films that is just so groundbreaking as well, I think. It's very clever the way
Absolutely.
They do it.
It's about absence, and it's about loss, and it's about things that you could have had and you didn't have, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what's so clever about the way the story is told, because it's not all just put on a plate for you so that you go, oh, okay, yeah, this is the childhood she could have had, or this is the kind of dad he could have been, or this is the kind of relationship they could have had. You don't get that given to you. You get to wonder about all those things, given all the clues that you're given. And you're you just get really invested in it, I think, because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a real authenticity to the performances. It's almost fly on the wall. The performances are so believable. You really do feel like, they are, obviously father and daughter, but also they're real people. You just get that impression that it is almost like a snapshot of the holiday, or like you say, because he's carrying the video camera around, it is that kind of thing, isn't it? Where it feels like it's a moment in time that's just playing out in real time.
It's quite fragmentary in that regard. I mean, there is a linear story to it, but you're being given clues and you're being given like little hints and little fragments and stuff. But his performance, I think, just is really starting to seal an opinion in me that he's an incredible actor of our time. I mean, he absolutely, everything I see him in, he acts. And I know that's a really dumb thing to say about an actor, but he's the guy's earning his money. I mean, he is acting, and he just puts in an incredible performance. But I've got to say that the daughter, Frankie, is also incredible. I mean, there's this really clever thing about, who's the most grown up of the two, who's the one that understands the world better than the other. And sometimes she's very markedly the child, and sometimes she's having to like help him through stuff. And she just can flick between being the one being cared for and being the one who's doing the caring. Really naturally. Really, really naturally.
Absolutely, because I don't always warm to children actors, but I think her performance in this is really believable. And I think there was, in an audition, I think she was one of 800 girls. So obviously she beat all the competition. I don't know what the other girls were like, but obviously she was pretty strong. I mean, that comes across in the film. It's just amazing. It's definitely a 5-star movie for me. It's one of those films I think is flawless.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with you. I think it's not rough and tumble action for an hour and a half. It's not kind of all going on, but it gets you thinking, it gets you engaged. It's kind of wonderful to look at. It's just beautifully put together, and there's something in its spareness. There's a real economy to it. You kind of know that every shot is the only shot it needs to be. You kind of know she's not wasted any time telling the story. She's trimmed off all the fat. It's just all it needs to be. It's a fairly perfect package in that regard, for sure.
Excellent. So it's Aftersun, BBC Two on Sunday. You can see it 10 p.m. Take a look at our last episode where we talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or you enthuse about that because that was your favourite film last time. It's on the screen now, and also follow us on X at London Boys, LDN Boys. Good to see you, Chris. Enjoy the movies over the weekend. We'll see you on the next one.